I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I was just cleaning out the kitchen drawer, that one drawer every house has. The one filled with old batteries, expired coupons, takeout menus, and receipts that no one ever throws away. I was looking for a pen. That's all. But instead, I found it. A crumpled envelope with his name on it, Mark Hastings, my husband of 6 years. It looked like a pay stub. I almost tossed it aside until the bold numbers caught my eye. It said, net pay, $11,372.55. My heart stuttered. That couldn't be right. Mark told me he made around $5,000 a month after taxes. That's what he had said every time we'd talked about our budget, our bills, our savings. I blinked, staring at the paper as if it might morph into something else, something more believable. But the ink didn't change. The number was real, and it was dated just a few weeks ago. I sat down at the kitchen table, my fingers trembling as I unfolded the rest of the envelope. It was clean, organized, clearly something he'd intended to hide, not discard. And it wasn't the only one. There were 4 more pay stubs tucked beneath it, each one higher than the last. I felt a hot flush of betrayal crawl up my neck. I wasn't sure if it was rage or heartbreak or just shock. Maybe all 3. Mark had been lying to me. For how long, I didn't know. But these numbers, these cold, printed numbers, told a story louder than any words ever could. I thought about all the times we had argued about money. The vacations we didn't take because we couldn't afford it. The nights I stayed up couponing, budgeting, stretching every dollar while he nodded solemnly, telling me we were doing our best. And all along, he had been hiding this.
Why?
I heard the front door open. Mark's voice echoed from the hallway, casual, humming some old tune he always whistled after work. My instincts told me to hide the papers.
So I did.
Not because I was afraid, no, but because I knew I needed time. To think.
To breathe.
To understand what kind of man I was really married to. Hey babe, he called out. What's for dinner? I forced a smile, thinking pasta. He walked in, loosened his tie, kissed my cheek, and walked right past the drawer. I wondered if he knew what I had found, if his stomach would drop like mine had. But no, he was too calm, too normal. I studied him as he poured himself a glass of water. Everything about him looked the same. Brown hair combed neatly, watch glinting on his wrist, sleeves rolled up like always. But suddenly, everything felt off.
Fake.
Like I was watching a man play the role of my husband. And I couldn't stop wondering, what else has he lied about? That night, I lay in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling while he snored softly. My mind was loud with memories, moments, doubts. I remembered how he started with nothing, 2 fresh college grads with big dreams and empty pockets. I had supported him through every promotion, every late-night meeting, every stressful deadline. I'd put my career on hold when his job needed relocating. I gave him space.
Trust.
And this was what he gave me in return. A lie wrapped in a paycheck. The next morning, I waited until he left for work before I opened his laptop. He was careless with passwords. Too confident. Within 5 minutes, I was inside his email. I wish I could say I was surprised by what I found. But honestly, I wasn't. Bank statements. Investment accounts. A private savings account with over $90,000, none of which I knew existed. He had been carefully stashing money away for at least 2 years, if not longer. And then I saw it, an email from someone named Samantha F., with a subject line. Got your message. Thanks again for helping. My breath caught. I opened it, expecting the worst. But it wasn't an affair. Not in the way I feared. She was a single mom. A coworker, it seemed. The email was innocent, mostly. But he had been sending her money. Regularly. Helping with her son's school fees, her rent. Generous, sure, but it was money he had told me we didn't have. And that made it worse. Because it meant he chose to lie. Not out of necessity, but convenience. Or guilt. Or God knows what. I sat back in the chair, hands in my lap, and made a decision. If he could lie about the money, I could teach him a lesson about what happens when your partner stops believing you. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt hollow.
Cold. Sharp.
Like something inside me had finally snapped loose. That was the moment I knew this marriage wasn't what I thought it was. And from now on, neither was I. The days that followed were a strange mix of performance and planning. I smiled when I had to, kissed him goodnight like nothing had changed. But inside me, everything had shifted. I was watching Mark now, not as a wife watches her husband, but the way a detective watches a suspect. Every move, every word, every excuse he gave, I cataloged it all. He was so confident in his deception. That's what unsettled me the most. He didn't stumble when he talked about our budget. Didn't flinch when I asked how work was going. If I hadn't seen those pay stubs, those emails, I never would have known. He was good at lying. And I was beginning to think he always had been. One night, we were sitting on the couch, watching TV. A commercial came on for a tropical resort. Palm trees, white sand, clear water. I said, casually, "Wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere like that for a week?" Mark chuckled, not even looking at me. "Maybe in a year or two, when things aren't so tight." I stared at him. That was the lie he told on autopilot now. Things are tight. Even with over $90,000 hidden away. Even while playing hero to another woman behind my back. I felt anger bubbling under my skin, quiet but constant. Like a low-grade fever.
But I didn't show it.
Not yet. Instead, I started taking control of the one thing he thought he had power over, our finances. I created a new email address. Quietly applied for an online bookkeeping course. Opened a separate checking account in my name only. Every morning while he showered, I searched. Every evening after he fell asleep, I studied. I began mapping out our spending, his transfers, every financial breadcrumb he had left behind. And what I found, it was more than just a betrayal.
It was a system.
A pattern. Mark had been manipulating our lifestyle to appear poor while he quietly played rich. His clothes were always new. His gadgets, new phones, tablets, watches, he always had a reason. It's for work. It was on sale. It's a bonus gift. But he never said, "I can afford it because I've been lying to you." I started leaving subtle clues. Not enough to alert him, but just enough to plant seeds of unease. I'd ask questions I already knew the answers to. "How much did you say your raise was last year?" He'd hesitate. Not much. Just a few hundred." "Strange," I'd say. "Because you seem less stressed lately. I figured things were better." He'd brush it off with a shrug. "Maybe I'm just handling things better." Liar. One evening, I called my best friend, Rachel, someone Mark always said I spent too much time with. "Can I tell you something?" I whispered over the phone. Rachel came over the next morning. I showed her everything, the pay stubs, the emails, the spreadsheets I'd created. Her eyes widened.
"Oh my God, Sarah.
This is insane." "Is it?" I said, calmly. "Or is it just marriage?"
"No," she said. "This isn't marriage.
This is betrayal." Rachel was the first person to remind me I wasn't crazy. That my pain was real. That my anger was valid. I needed that. Because part of me kept wondering, am I overreacting? Maybe he just wanted to surprise me. Maybe he had a plan. But what kind of surprise lasts 2 years and involves another woman? Rachel looked me dead in the eye and said, "You have 2 choices.
Confront him.
Or outsmart him." I chose both. But not yet. First, I needed to know everything. So, I scheduled an appointment at the bank. Told them I wanted to review our joint account activity. Then I asked about his accounts. "I'm sorry, ma'am. That's confidential unless you're listed as an authorized user." I smiled politely. "Oh, I understand. No worries." But I took note of the account numbers. Later that night, Mark brought home takeout. Thai food, my favorite. He smiled. "Long day." "Very," I said, forcing a tired laugh. "Budgeting's been driving me insane lately." "You worry too much," he said between bites of chicken sauté. "You always make it work. I guess I just wish you were a little more involved." That hit him. I saw it in the flicker of guilt in his eyes. He reached for my hand. "I'm sorry." I know you carry a lot of the load. I wanted to scream. You think I carry the load? You're hoarding tens of thousands while I skip buying new shoes because money's tight? But I didn't say that. Instead, I smiled and squeezed his hand. Thanks for saying that. Because this wasn't the moment. But it was coming. Every day that passed, I became more sure.
More calm.
My rage had turned into something colder. Cleaner. He wasn't going to see it coming. And when it did, it would hurt in the only place that mattered to him. His money. It happened on a Thursday. Mark always had a routine. Out the door by 7:45 a.m., black coffee in a thermos, navy blue tie, same stupid cologne. I waited until I heard the front door shut. Then I moved. I opened his closet and reached for the lockbox tucked behind his winter boots. He thought I didn't know it was there. But I had been watching. I used the spare key I found in his old laptop bag. Inside, I found what I expected: documents, paper trails, account info, 2 USB drives, a gold money clip, receipts from luxury restaurants I had never been to, and a photo of him and Samantha standing too close together at what looked like a company retreat. I stared at the photo for a long moment. Her smile was sweet, innocent, maybe even grateful. And Mark, had that stupid grin on his face. The one I hadn't seen in our home in years. I placed everything in a folder, scanned it, made copies. By the time he got home that evening, I was in the kitchen, humming, chopping vegetables for stir-fry. He walked in, loosened his tie like always. You look relaxed, he said, grabbing a beer. I feel relaxed, I replied. Actually, I've been thinking. We should talk about our future. His face froze for a second before he quickly masked it. What do you mean? I turned to him with a smile. Retirement. Goals. What we want to save for. You know, all those big life things. He took a long sip. Yeah, we can talk about that sometime. No, I said gently. I mean now. He shifted in his seat. And then I saw it. That flicker of panic behind his eyes. That's when I knew he knew. He sensed it. Something was wrong. I sat across from him at the table and slid a piece of paper toward him, his most recent pay stub. Not a copy. The original. The one I had found weeks ago. He looked at it, blinked, and then tried to play dumb. What's this? You tell me, I said calmly. Because I thought you made 55 grand a year. Silence. He cleared his throat. Look, I can explain. Go ahead. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. I just didn't want you to worry. I didn't want to fight about how we should spend it. I nodded slowly. So instead you lied. Repeatedly. He stood up suddenly, defensive. It's not like I was hiding it forever. I was waiting for the right time. You gave another woman money, Mark. The room went dead silent. His eyes widened. What are you talking about? Samantha F., I said. Single mom. Her rent. Her kids' tuition. You used our money. She needed help, he said quickly. It wasn't what you think.
It's not like that.
I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just watched him squirm. And then I said, I know about the other accounts. He stared at me like I had just spoken in a foreign language. I know about the private savings account. The investment fund. All of it. You've been hoarding money while I've been rationing groceries. His hands went to his head. Sarah, listen. It's not what it looks like. I was going to tell you.
I swear.
You wanted control, I interrupted. And you thought lying to your wife would give you that. He looked like a cornered animal now, pacing, frantic, unsure of which excuse to lean on. I didn't cheat on you, he said, as if that was some kind of moral victory. No, I said. You just betrayed me in every other way possible. I slid a second folder toward him, full of the scanned documents, bank statements, and screenshots. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I added. His face dropped. What? I haven't filed anything.
Not yet.
But I needed to understand what I'm legally entitled to. What you've been hiding, what you've spent without my knowledge. And I made copies of everything, Mark. Don't even think about erasing accounts. The paper trail is stronger than your lies. For the first time since this all started, he looked afraid. Truly afraid. Not because he loved me, but because he knew I wasn't bluffing. "I never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. I believe that. In his twisted mind, he probably thought he was protecting me. Or protecting himself. Who knows? But intentions don't erase betrayal. "You hurt me anyway," I said. "And now, I'm going to hurt you. But legally." The next morning, Mark tried to pretend everything was normal. He made coffee, wore his favorite gray suit, even kissed my cheek before heading out the door. But there was a tremble in his hand as he picked up his briefcase. And when he looked at me, it wasn't love in his eyes, it was fear. I spent the morning executing the second phase of my plan. I emailed my lawyer to proceed with a financial audit of our assets. Not a divorce filing yet, just leverage. I updated my new private account and transferred $5,000 into it, money I had slowly and quietly pulled from our joint account over the past 2 months. I wasn't stealing. I was reclaiming. By noon, I had drafted a letter. Simple.
Precise.
Brutal. "Dear Mark, since honesty seems foreign to you, I'll try it myself. I know everything. I know about the salary you lied about, the accounts you never mentioned, the money you gave to Samantha, the years of pretending. I've made copies. I've spoken to legal counsel. I know what belongs to me and what doesn't. This is not a threat. This is notice. You have one chance to come clean, fully and truthfully, or I will expose everything. Not just to lawyers, but to your parents, your boss, your friends. I may have been quiet for a long time, but don't mistake my silence for weakness. You picked the wrong woman to underestimate. Sarah." I printed the letter and placed it in a red envelope, his favorite color. That night, I cooked dinner again. This time, pasta. Garlic bread. A little wine. He walked in, cautiously optimistic. Like maybe, just maybe, I was done being angry. I played along. We talked. He asked about my day. I asked about his. Then I reached for my phone, opened the home screen, and tilted it toward him. "Recognize this number?" I asked sweetly. His face paled. It was Samantha's. "Why do you have that?" he asked slowly. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled out the red envelope and slid it across the table. He didn't open it right away. He just stared at it, like it was ticking. "You know what this is?" I asked. He nodded. "I'm giving you a choice, Mark. Right here.
Right now."
Total honesty. Everything. Or you lose everything. Silence.
He picked up the envelope.
Opened it. Read every word. Then, for the first time in years, he broke. Tears welled in his eyes. He dropped the letter and sat back. "I didn't mean to become this," he whispered. I felt like nothing. Like I wasn't enough. You were always so smart, so capable. I wanted to feel powerful. Important. I started hiding things, and then it got easier. Until it didn't. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I let him speak. But when he was done, I said one thing. "You didn't just lie to me. You built an entire reality, without me in it." He reached across the table. "Please don't leave me." I pulled my hand away. "You left me a long time ago, Mark. You just didn't say it out loud." He was crying now. The kind of tears that make you question everything. The kind that almost make you forgive. Almost. But I had reached my breaking point. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to call your HR department. You're going to put me on every account you've kept hidden. You're going to show me every statement. You're going to come clean to your parents. And you're going to write Samantha a message, ending all contact. I'll be watching." "And if I don't?" he asked, voice trembling. "Then you'll find yourself in court. And I'll make sure the world sees the man behind the mask."
He didn't argue.
He didn't scream. He just nodded. Because he knew. There was no more pretending. No more control. No more secrets. He had finally met the version of me he was never prepared for. The woman who had nothing left to lose, and everything to take back. 3 weeks later, Mark moved into a furnished apartment 10 minutes away. He packed in silence. I didn't offer help. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I just watched the man who had lied to me for years try to gather the pieces of a life he thought he had under control. He left the keys on the kitchen counter. "Do you hate me?" he asked quietly, one foot already out the door. "No," I replied honestly. "I pity you." The door closed behind him, and just like that, the silence in the house changed. It wasn't heavy anymore, it was peaceful. I didn't file for divorce. Not yet. I wanted him to live in the consequences first. He followed my terms, gave me access to every account, cut off Samantha, even confessed to his family. His parents were shocked, but not surprised. Sometimes, people know when their child isn't who they pretend to be. I started therapy. I also started going to the gym again, wore lipstick again, went out for coffee with friends again, without needing to ask or justify where I was going. Freedom is strange at first. Quiet, tender, a little scary, but beautiful. Mark tried to reach out a few times. Emails,
Calls.
even sent flowers once with a note that read, "I'm still the man you fell in love with." I threw them out, because the truth is he wasn't. The man I loved never existed. He was a performance, a carefully constructed version, tailored to be just good enough to stay, but just clever enough to hide. And then one night it happened. I was cleaning out our old filing cabinet when I found something wedged behind the bottom drawer. A second phone. An old one. Cracked screen. Powered off. Hidden like a secret meant to die in the dark. Curious, I charged it. There were only a few apps, messages, photos, calculator. But the messages were enough. Dozens of threads with Samantha. And not just her. There was another name. Elena. Another woman. Flirty texts. Explicit photos. Voice notes. Promises.
Lies. Repeats.
My blood ran cold. Even now, after all the supposed honesty, he was still hiding parts of himself. I scrolled, each message a dagger, each date a new betrayal. It wasn't just money. It wasn't just pride.
It was who he was.
Pathological, strategic, manipulative. He had planned everything. The lie about the salary, the separate accounts, even the timing of how he gave Samantha money, it all coincided with my pay cuts, my stress, my distractions. I thought I had punished him enough. I thought taking away his control, his money, his comfort was enough.
But now
I understood. This man wasn't just dishonest. He was dangerous. That night, I packed a bag and left. Stayed at my sister's house. Sat with the phone in my lap for hours, wondering what would have happened if I hadn't found it. The next morning, I filed for divorce. No delay. No second chances. I submitted the evidence to my lawyer. Requested a full restraining order. When Mark found out, he called. Left voicemails, screaming, begging, threatening, apologizing, crying, cycling through every emotion like a madman. I never picked up. He had his chances. Every single one of them.
And now?
He had nothing. 2 months passed. Life got quieter. Better. I started painting again. Joined a book club. Took a short solo trip to the coast. Then, one night, I came home to a white envelope taped to my front door. No return address. Inside, a single Polaroid. Mark. Standing outside my old workplace. Staring directly at the camera. No message. No explanation. Just him. Watching. I handed it to the police the next morning. Updated the restraining order. Installed new cameras. And I moved. Again. But every now and then, I feel it. That subtle shift in the air. The quiet paranoia. The cold sensation that someone somewhere still thinks they have a piece of me. But they don't. Because the woman he tried to control, to manipulate, to silence,
she's gone.
And in her place, a woman who sees clearly. A woman who fights back. A woman who never ignores the whispers in her gut again. So, if you're reading this and thinking, I could never be her, let me tell you something. You already are. You just haven't been pushed far enough to find out yet. But when you are, God help the man who underestimated you.